it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, June 30th. In all transparency, this was recorded late afternoon. So if something broke at around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, well, chances are I would come back on and do it all over again. But you get my drift. As we speak, Elliot Friedman is tweeting that he's hearing that Aaron Ekblad will stay in Florida. Isn't that good news for the Florida Panthers? Of course, tomorrow is a big day in the National Hockey League. Tomorrow is July 1st, so there's all kinds of names being thrown out there, some that actually have some credibility behind it, some that do not, and everyone's playing general manager, and everyone's playing trade, and everyone's going everywhere. Some players will go somewhere. Mitch Marner is the big fish up for grabs. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet in the last couple of days telling us that he's being linked to the Vegas Golden Knights. By the way, I think I was the first one who had that one, but if not, I had it on GC on TVA Sports probably, I don't know, about a good 10 or 11 days ago that I said, I'll give you a prediction. He's going to Vegas anyway. He's not there yet. But Elliot telling us that a deal might be worked out between Vegas and Toronto. And if it doesn't, who knows? There could be a chance of tampering and all that stuff. Anyway, I know you want to hear about Montreal Canadiens hockey, and we have a lot of it because Noah Dobson was traded to the Montreal Canadiens at around 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday. Then, of course, on Friday night was the NHL draft, and the Canadiens gave up pick 16 and 17 and Emil Heineman to the Islanders in that trade to acquire Noah Dobson, who signed a contract extension, 8 years at $9.5 million per year. You know by now what happened with Montreal Canadiens draft picks. We'll bring up a chart a little bit later. Actually, why don't we do it right now, Shane, if we can bring up the chart of who the Montreal Canadiens drafted. Do we have that? I think Agnello was sending it over. Do we have the chart? For whatever reason, we do not have the chart right now of who the Montreal Canadiens drafted on Friday and Saturday. Well, on Saturday. There you have it. Okay, thank you. Noah Dobson acquired, of course, earlier today. Zorowski, a right winger with pick 34. Papanekis, a center with pick 69. Pickford, a defenseman with pick 81. Radkov, a goalie at pick 82. LJ Mooney. I remember doing a radio show with Chris Nyland. He had spent some time in Pittsburgh. He came back and he said, I just saw this kid LJ Mooney play. I've never seen anything like it. He's unbelievable. Well, he's a centerman. The Canadiens grabbed him at pick 113. Alexis Cornway is a goalie. Canadiens grabbed him at pick 145. Handel's a defenseman at pick 177. McNeil, a defenseman at pick 189. And Vig, a defenseman at pick 209. We have a report card up, and you can grade the Montreal Canadiens from A to F, with A being the best grade, of course, on how you think they did at the draft. Without further ado, let's bring in for Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca. He's a regular on Mondays. Eric Engels, how are you?
What's up, Tony?
I'm doing very, very well. Look, everyone's given their opinion on Noah Dobson, the Canadiens acquiring him, but I haven't had a chance to speak to you yet. This is the first time, so give me your thoughts on the trade that was.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. 6'4" defenseman, right-handed, 25 years old, buy up all his prime years, under $10 million at 9.5. He was asking the Islanders as high as 11 when he first started negotiating with them. On the open market, likely gets more if he ends up in Columbus, which was the other team going after him, or St. Louis ends up getting more. Chose Montreal, wanted to be in Montreal. That on its own is really something to highlight about this trade. You know, when a player from the outside looking in believes in what is being built, it's indicative of how other players around the league are going to start looking at this team too, especially now that Dobson's a part of it. Kent Hughes made some great comment, cost of acquisition 16th, 17th, where they were going to get middle to bottom six forwards likely. I know they said that they had Jarofsky high on their board and has potential for top six, but there's a reason he's chosen 34th overall. There's a lot that needs to happen for him to reach that potential. Even still, it's going to take time. It would have taken time for whoever they would have picked at 16 and 17, whether it was Jarofsky or anybody else. And Emil Heineman is a player they probably didn't want to give up in this deal, but a player that the New York Islanders clearly have good scouts and went after. And it was digestible to lose him in it because A, you're getting Dobson, and B, you have Gallagher, Anderson, Evans, and a whole host of prospects beneath them in the minors pushing to be middle six forwards, not to mention Newhook and Doc. And anyways, you guys know who plays for the Canadians and who's in their system. The most relevant quote from Ken Hughes, in my view, aside from something else we'll talk about at some point here, is about fit and style of play. Going back, getting pucks, getting them out quick, having down the line on a championship contending team, two lines that are going to want puck movers on each of their top two pairings to get them the puck. Right now, you look at what the Canadians have all together, and they could have that on three of their pairings. So we'll see. I'm just telling Shane to wait on that clip because we got other stuff to talk about here. But I just think it's such a good fit. Dobson is not – he's not an overly physical guy at 6'4", okay? If that's what you're waiting for, you want him to pound guys like Aaron Ekblad and cross-check them. That's not his style. But the Canadians can round out the rest of this defense with those types of players as they move along here. So it's to have your top four set for a very long time, it's a heck of a deal for the Canadians.
All right. I remember a show that I'm sure you do as well that you and I did. It was the week of NHL trade deadline. And I said, Eric, give me a name that right now no one's talking about that could be dealt. And who knows, maybe possibly to the Montreal Canadiens. Remember what you said? Jordan Kyrou. That was back in the first week of March. Here we are. Over 3 months later, and his name is coming up. And right now, as we speak, at the time of this recording, his name is everywhere. Why? For several reasons. But if the St. Louis Blues don't deal him today, starting tomorrow, his no-trade clause kicks in. Kind of reminds me of PK Subban. Remember that, right? Where he was, he had an 8-year deal, and he had 6 years left on that deal. And on July 1st, if he was still going to be a Montreal Canadian, he was going to have a no-trade clause for the next 6 years. And Marc Bergevin didn't want him to stick around for another 6. So, boom, he found him a home in Nashville and acquired Shea Weber. Kyrou, I want to bring up his stats, all right, if I can, his hockey DB. And there you have it. We're talking about a guy who has scored in the 30s, 37, 31, 36, the last 3 seasons. Has had seasons of 75 and 73 and 67 and 70 points. He's a former second-round pick. He's a right winger. He's played some center in his career, but he's more comfortable on the wing. He's 6'1", about 200. He's got a cap hit of $8.125 million. His contract will expire in 2031. So when we talk about the Canadians and we talk about wanting to acquire players in their prime, and hoping that they have some term and they'll be with the Canadians for a while, they come at a decent number. Here's a guy. Because of that, I think everyone's targeting him to the Canadians. Not to say that he won't come here. What are you hearing?
Yeah, listen, they're definitely involved, okay? But they're one of a few different teams involved, and he's not the only player they're involved with. I can't speak to some of the other ones they might be involved with because there are certain cards that get held very close to the vest, and I'm digging and poking, but it's hard to ascertain the info. But I think it's clear, you're seeing it from multiple people that they're involved on Kyrou. There's a reason he's potentially moving out of St. Louis. One, because he's a good player that could fetch something at another position where they really have a need, which is at center. So if you're banking on Kyrou becoming a center, It's probably not a good bet. 2, is he a perfect player? No. He's skilled. He puts the puck in the net. There are physical elements of his game that are not quite where a lot of people would like to see them at his size. There have been questions about his implication at times in St. Louis. He's had a few up and down times, as any young player would go through. I think he's a really good player. I think he's really skilled. I think he fits, fairly well with the way the Canadians like to play. Their forecheck is so vital to the way they want to play that I'm not sure he's a guy that I would circle and say that's a perfect fit. But it's all a question of cost of acquisition. When you have a player that's 27 years old, is he 27?
Yeah.
Yeah, 27 years old, signed to that type of number. You got his prime years basically under contract, like we just saw with Dobson. It's something you have to look at, especially when you're a team that's looking for top 6 talent, bona fide, established top 6 talent. And I think the main takeaway really is whether it's Kyrou or somebody else, the Canadians are willing to wait for the ideal second line center that really fits with what they have.
Yeah.
And getting a piece like a top 6 winger like Kyrou or somebody else that they might be after enables them not to block that position if somebody else becomes available and they are able to get what they actually want in that market. Right now, so many teams out there looking for second line centers. The reason why St. Louis is wanting to trade Kyrou is not just the no trade, it's the fact that they need a second line center. It's hard to find one, and it's hard to find one that fits exactly with the way you want to play and complements the rest of what you have in your top 6. So I think they're going to be patient on that front. I think they're very aggressive. Ken Hughes being very aggressive right now to try and find a top 6 winger to add. And I'm sure he's trying to find a top 6 center also, but I think if I had to bet on one or the other happening, it's probably at the wing position where they improve.
So in an ideal world, St. Louis, if they trade Kyrou, they trade him to try and move Braden Shen down to a third line center role and put a second line centerman in that Shen chair right now.
Yeah, or they get another guy that's probably on the same level with a bit more offensive upside as Shen, so that they kind of have a split 2-3 role.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking to Doug Armstrong about it right now, so I'm not sure precisely who his targets are. But look, I know we've seen some rumors out there that are insane. I saw somebody suggest that the Canadians have 3-4 pieces on the table. As of right now, they've got a decision to make on Mike Matheson, and I think the ball is very much in Mike Matheson's court. Is he willing to sign the type of deal that would keep him here for a few years, that would probably be under market value if he were to get out there in a year from now and be in a role that's more suited to his abilities? Is he, I think if he believes in his place in Montreal and how it's been probably the best thing for his career to come here, there's a world where he stays with the Canadians on a pretty sweet deal for them, for sure. For him, it would be a discount for sure. And they end up with one of the best defenses in the league, top to bottom, puck movers on every pair, and at least a short window, and by short I mean a year or two, where he's pretty much locked into the top 4. So
what do you make of so many people out there on social media saying, okay, Matheson's gone?
I think it's logical, right? I understand, and I was the first to suggest it in my piece on Noah Dobson after the trade was made, that this opens up the option that you're trying to deal in a marketplace where nobody wants to accept futures, and now all of a sudden you have a roster player that you could potentially move that has serious value in terms of what he's done over the last couple of years. I understand he had 31 points versus 62, but that's because of the role change. Lane Hutson came in, he came off the power play, scored 36 points on the power play the year before Mike Matheson. That's off the top of my head. Maybe it was 30 or a little less. I could be wrong, but he scored 62 points, and a lot of them were on the power play. And he was thrust into a largely all defensive zone starts essentially last year. There's 60% zone starts in the D zone. If this guy were on another team where he was played more to the role that he's supposed to be in over the last year of his contract, he could hit it huge as a UFA. So I think the Canadians look at him and say, man, if we can keep that guy, we could keep him for a reasonable amount. And at the point with where they're at cap-wise, with Demidov down the line and with what they're going to have to do with Hutson, everybody's going to have to take a little bit less. Noah Dobson took a little bit less to be here. Everybody's going to take a little less if you want to win.
By the way, around the league, Pierre LeBrun tells us that the Ekblad extension is 8 years at an average of $6.1 million a year. So
speaking of discounts,
he stays with the club champs.
If he hit the open market, if he had hit the open market, what do you think you would have gotten? What do you think a team like Detroit would have paid Aaron Ekblad?
Over 8.5.
Like $3 million more a year.
Yeah, so that's
he's got it good in South Florida, and he doesn't have state tax to deal with. Okay, but he doesn't do that if he's not committed to winning. All right, doesn't matter if you're in Florida or you're in Montreal or Toronto or you're in Seattle. You want to win, and you're on a good team where there's a bunch of people that could command a bunch of money. You got to take less. That's it.
There were a lot of NHLers on the ice earlier today in Brassard, some Montreal Canadiens players and some non-Montreal Canadiens players. There's one player who was drafted to Detroit Red Wing, who later on in his career was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks, who from there was traded to the Seattle Kraken, who put him on waivers, and he cleared waivers, and he was on the ice today. He's a Montreal boy. Let's take a look at what Tibi put up. There you have it. Look at that. Joe Veleno. Can Joe Veleno, with, you would think, Christian Dvorak, set to leave the Canadiens, you would think unrestricted free agent, you would think Armia will as well. Heineman was traded. Let's just say the Canadiens bump Jake Evans from a fourth-line role to a third-line role to take Dvorak's spot. Can Joe Veleno be that fourth-line guy, or vice versa? Could Joe Veleno be that third-line guy? What are the chances of Joe Veleno with the Montreal Canadiens, in your opinion?
Less than 50%. There's other targets that I would go after way before him. I don't think he's going to come very expensive. I don't think you have to commit term to him, so that makes him an option. He's 6 foot. He doesn't really play with a lot of size and edge to his game. He's got skill. He's got real skill, this kid. Like, a lot of it. I think anybody who really knows the player knows he's got a lot of skill. I like his ability to potentially play a third-line role better than a fourth-line role, but I don't – he would be lower down the list of guys that you think about fit and what Ken Hughes said about the fit of Noah Dobson with the way they play. Alex Carey is another guy. I talked about this in my free agency preview of a perfect example of how well a player fits. His fearlessness going to get the puck and get it out is why he shines so much in Montreal, why he was such a good fit with them. It was obvious why you would trade for him at the time. They needed experience. They needed a right-handed defenseman. But it's really how well he fit with the way they like to play that made him shine so much in Montreal. Up front, the key tenet to Marty St. Louis' system is forecheck. And they lost Heineman, who's a really good forechecker. And they're going to lose Dvorak and Armia on the open market likely. Were key penalty killers, and Dvorak was driving a line that was probably the best forechecking line, not only on the Canadiens, but one of them in the Eastern Conference with Anderson and Gallagher. It was that line from a north-south forechecking perspective was phenomenal. So you got to look at guys like, is Sean Corrali at 32 years old going to get a 4-year deal somewhere out there, or would he sign for 2 years? If he would, I think the Canadiens would target him pretty hard. I look at Connor Brown, prototypical guy that would be top of my list for hard forechecking, penalty killing guy with size and edge. Yeah, as a number and speed as the type of guy that I would go after if I was the Canadiens. They're going to look for those types of players. I think Joe Veleno is much lower down the list of those types of guys.
Yeah, I like Connor Brown. I was just saying, you know what, Joe Veleno, he's a kid from here. He won't come expensive, like you said. I see the Canadiens being interested. I don't see them offering him more than a 1-year deal to actually prove himself, because it's that point in his career where Joe really has to look in the mirror now and prove himself. I got to tell you, Tanner Janot, I love him.
There's Tanner Janot. Guy I mentioned. Yeah, that's another guy who
I've been talking about him all. I've been talking about him for 2 years, I think.
I had Corrali. I had Brown, Corrali, and Janot as hard targets. Then there's like a secondary list of guys they might go after. And I think, obviously, there's going to be some emphasis on potentially finding a third string goaltender that has NHL experience that you can park in the AHL and bring up. I guess, since it is 3 p.m. or 3:30 right now, and we're waiting to see what happens, one thing we're going to look at is will Caden Primo get a qualifying offer from the Canadiens? I think he probably will, but we'll see what happens.
Our buddy Arpit Basu of The Athletic says that he's hearing the Canadiens are interested in right winger Brian Rust, 33 years old. He makes $5.125 million a year. He's going to make that for another couple of seasons.
Three more, no? Is it 3 more seasons?
Yeah, he's in year 4 of 6. So yeah, so he's got 3 more seasons, correct?
So when I said, yeah, they've certainly kicked the tires on Kyrou. There's other players there. I think Kent Hughes has been beyond it. When he said he's been on the phone for every waking hour over the last 3 weeks, you can believe him.
That's another guy under 6 feet, though. Like, okay, I get it. He's not 5'7", he's 5'11".
Yeah, but he's not a long-term. He's not a long-term play. He's a player that makes them better now.
Yeah,
it's not a long-term. This is for our contention window. He fits with the way they like to play. It wouldn't surprise me. I do think when you look at Rust and Raquel and what Pittsburgh is trying to do, those are guys that are going to really go for premium prices versus what they're actually worth. But very productive player, very smart player, and competitive. This team needs competitive, edgy players to keep driving this culture forward, and so it makes sense to me.
What do you make of the rumors of Mike Matheson going to Edmonton and the Canadiens possibly being interested in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and all that stuff?
I'm sure there's a lot of teams that would be interested in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but the Edmonton Oilers are trying to win the Stanley Cup. Like, they're trying to also sign Connor McDavid. I think they're failing miserably to do either one of those things, trading Ryan Nugent-Hopkins out, especially for a defenseman. So there's some stuff, and I appreciate that everyone's trying to figure out what the Canadiens are up to, but like, we got to start using some filters on some of this stuff. It's
But what do you make of? Let's just say the Canadiens trade Matheson.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be concerned with the age group of their defensemen?
No.
You think they would have enough experience and enough mentors on the blue line to show some of the young kids the way?
I think you can always, if you need to sign a 7th defenseman who doesn't mind sitting out here and there with some veteran experience, that'll be available to you. It's not something I'd be concerned about. The main concern with Mike Matheson is you can trade him or you can keep him, but you're going to have to decide one way or the other what the future looks like with and without him. And that means you either get him signed to a deal that's palatable to you, but you got to decide much sooner than later because he becomes a piece that can net you something good in part of a package, I would think.
Okay, Lane Hutson. I want to get to him in just a second, but before I do, the Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment destination, Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action and world-class poker experience. Playground is a 2025 winner of Fan Choice, Best Poker Room at the Global Poker Awards. Indulge your taste buds at some of their incredible restaurants. Let loose with live music, electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across the Mercier Bridge. Well settled for ordinary when you can have extraordinary at Playground. It's all there. Visit playground.ca to discover more. And brought to you in part by Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the summer. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. All right, okay. The Canadiens signed Noah Dobson to an 8-year deal at $9.5 million a year. Earlier today, the New York Islanders signed Alex Romanov to an 8-year deal at $6.25 million per year. Now, we know why they traded Dobson. His camp was asking for $11 million. They didn't want to give him that. Noah Dobson and Patrick Waugh weren't exactly on the same page. And they probably wanted to get a couple of other guys under contract. And you see with Romanov what happened today. My question to you, if Romanov signs an extension at 6.25 and Dobson signs an extension at 9.5 and Chychrun a couple of months ago signed an extension at $9 million a year, what do you think is going to happen with Lane Hutson, who has 1 year left on a deal? And he doesn't have to sign a deal this summer, by the way, because he's got all of next year to do so as well. Where do you think that's going?
Well, first of all, we can't go comparing apples to cardboard. Like, one's coming out of entry level, and we're talking about some guys who were a year away from unrestricted free agency. Like, these are not comparables. The main point is what I made before about if you want to win, you have to take less. Look, I know you've been among people that have suggested that, you know, an 8-year deal with Lane Hutson is going to cost $11 to $12 million. And I can tell you right now, if that's what you think an 8-year deal is going to be for Lane Hutson, there's zero chance that he's going to get that in Montreal off this entry-level deal. Zero.
Well, perfect. I'll give you a prediction right now. If the Canadiens want to lowball Lane Hutson, it's going to be the last contract he's going to sign with them.
I don't know about low. I'm not talking about lowballing. I'm saying it's not for over an 8-year deal. If he comes to terms on an 8-year deal with the Canadiens, it will not be for those figures. It will not be.
You're probably right. I'm just saying that if Dobson's going to cost 9.5, I give Lane 10. As close, but you're saying that one has played 6 years in the National Hockey League and one has played 1 year in the National Hockey League. I'm saying that the one that played better in his first year than the other guy played in his fifth.
Maybe, I don't know. One of them has a 70-point season, the other has a 66-point season.
That 70-point season,
one of them has
scored
10 goals 3 years in a row. The other had 6 this year. One of them is going to guaranteed play on the first pairing of the Canadiens, and the other might be on the second pair. Like, there's a lot of, I'm not here to like diminish Lane Hutson's value. I think we all know how great of a player he is. I'm just telling you that right now, the way contract negotiations work and a player in his position, I don't think that number is going to be anywhere near what some people are suggesting. And
it probably won't be. But I'm just going to go back and say this. That guy who scored 6 goals and 67 points in year 1, wait till you see what he's going to do in year 5.
66, yeah. He's great. He's amazing. Like, I don't know, if I wrote after 82 games this year, there was 30 columns devoted to how great of a player Lane Hutson is.
Yeah.
I love his compete level. I love everything about the player, but he's not holding all the leverage coming out of an entry-level deal.
He's not.
Belong to the Canadiens.
You're right.
Multiple ways of doing this on an 8-year deal, and I think an 8-year deal would be available to him. It's not, you know, I think Dobson's number is a lot closer to what he'll get than some of the figures that people assume. And I'm not, by the way, when I say that, does he have a case to ask for a lot of money?
Of course he does. Of course he does. Of course he does.
But we'll see where that goes. But I can tell you right now, there's zero chance it's going to be 8 years worth $11 to $12 million. Zero.
I don't think he's going to get that either. But if they don't sign him this summer and they get to next summer and he goes from 6 goals to 12 goals and from 66 points to 80,
it'll be a good problem. It'll be a good problem for them to have.
Well, they're probably going to regret that they wouldn't have signed it the year before, though.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think we'll see how both sides approach the negotiation. I think both of them are interested in a long-term marriage together.
I hope so.
And I think both of them want to do what's best for their respective selves, but also what's best for the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, all the conversations have with Lane Hutson, how much he values winning over anything else. I think he understands the end game here. And let's be fair. Like, if he signs a deal that's 8 years, around $9 million, 9.5, say he signs Dobson's deal, okay?
Okay.
At the higher end.
Yeah. I would do that, my eyes closed if I was the Habs.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it would be a little under that, but not the point. The point is that's $76 million taking him to 29 years old or 30 years old, where he'll be able to get another 100. Like, I don't know. I think Lane Hutson wants to win more than anything, and Lane Hutson is going to have to take ownership of his own end in this negotiation if he wants a long-term deal. And if he doesn't, you know, there's plenty of merit in him potentially waiting. There's plenty of merit in him trying to angle for a bit of a shorter-term deal. There's a lot of different ways this could work out.
He can angle that way, but if you're the Canadiens, you don't want him to do that because if he signs a long-term deal, right, at the end of that long-term deal, he's an unrestricted free agent, right? And that's something to scare anybody. So what you want to do is you want to put that off as much as possible, right? That's why the Canadians should definitely want, you correct me if I'm wrong, the Canadians should definitely want an 8-year deal in all this.
The Canadians would definitely want an 8-year deal in this if Lane Hutson believes that he's got a great opportunity to win and grow with the Canadians and is willing to sign at a number that's going to help them do that. If he's not, then who knows where it's going to be a year from now? It could be a 1-year deal. Like I'm just bringing up the other side because I know we're all thinking the same thing. This kid has tremendous value to the future of this hockey team, and he has that immediately after 1 year as the Calder Trophy winner, as a guy who put up 6 goals and 66 points. But they're in the business of trying to win a championship and open up a contention window where they're fighting for one every year. And they're not going to be able to do that with Lane Hutson making a number out of entry level that is way, way over what they'd like to pay.
See, that's where you and I see things a little bit differently, and I'm going to explain, right? Is that everything you just said is right. Out of entry level, it would be a big jump. He doesn't have all the leverage because he's out of entry level. And you have more leverage when you're going into unrestricted free agency, because at that point, everyone wants you, right? And then you have the leverage because every team has a crack at you. Right now, it's just the Montreal Canadiens. Either that, or if he doesn't like it, like he stays home, he doesn't get paid, right? He's got no leverage, right? But for me, the whole thing is out of entry level. If you're good, you're good. If you prove like Lane Hutson didn't have the season he had by fluke, he's only going to get better. Like, for all those who are saying, let me see him do it again. You got to be stupid. Like, if people think that Lane Hutson is going to come back next year with 3 goals and 50 points because he did not have a fluke season. The kid's a phenom, man. He's a phenom. He's already the best player of his draft year, right? So I understand your point. And he doesn't have the leverage. You're right. But for me, if you're good, you're good, Yeah,
but when you talk about going to get a huge jump, he's going to get one no matter what. Yeah, he's going to get one. It's going to be huge. How much is enough for him? That's the question, and that's what we're going to find out. I'll tell you one thing: he's on an entry-level deal for 1 more year, so that's good. In terms of like managing the salary cap, that's a good thing as you're trying to improve.
You get the feeling it's not going to be done this offseason?
I don't know what to think. I wouldn't handicap it one way or the other. I'm not inside Lane Hutson's head or his negotiating strategy. I think he would love an 8-year deal, and I think the Canadians would love to give him one. They have to agree on what the number is on that deal. My original point stands. It isn't 11 to 12 million bucks. I don't think it's over 10, to be honest with you. And that's taking into account that he has a case to ask for that. It's taking into account that if he really wants to, that could be his negotiation strategy. I don't think it'll lead to him signing an 8-year deal, but I could understand why he would feel justified in asking for that type of money with where the salary cap is going and what he's already shown.
So once again, we're not going to I understand your entire point. I think he probably could have been had for 10 or less than 10, or then all of a sudden, I think every day you wait. Okay, so Dobson's got 9.5 and Romanov's got.
There's so much that could happen, Tony. There's so much that could happen within the span of a year. When Cole Caulfield came on the scene towards the end of that season in 2021, and then went into the Stanley Cup playoffs and was immediately an impactful player, I don't think anybody thought that the next season he was going to come out and struggle. And I'm not sitting here saying Lane Hutson's going to take a step back. I think we know with him doing 2-a-days on the ice, like, this kid is just dedicated and is on his way to getting better and better. But he could also fall down the stairs and twist his ankle. Like who the hell knows? There's a lot of things that can happen. But opportunity is going to be split a little bit now. Like, Noah Dobson is here, and Noah Dobson is already proven as a top pairing defenseman. And Lane would be the first to tell you he's got strides to take to get to that level.
Lane plays 22 plus minutes per game. Next season is on the first wave of the power play. The Canadians can go out and get a second line centerman. the Canadiens can keep Lane on the left side of defense and get him a really good defense partner. If they
got one already for him,
if they give him everything he needs to succeed, he's a phenom. He's going to bust it open.
It's all there.
He's going to bust it open,
dude. If I had to make a bet, forget about the numbers we're talking about on his potential contract. I'm betting on the same thing you just said, that he's going to have a great season. And I don't think one way or the other is going to be regrets on either side of this. But it's a negotiation. And people should not forget that it's a negotiation. There's two parties, and one of them holds a bit more leverage than the other. And it's the one that has the rights to the player for, 6 more years or whatever it is, 5 more years, 7.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. And visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Call them at 514-363-3636. What's going to happen tomorrow? Unrestricted free agency. Get in on the action with Betway. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. Your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. All right. Okay. Do we have a clip to play?
I think we burned it anyways. But it might be worth playing it. But it's Ken Hughes talking about his experience as an agent.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Shane Gilmore, Master Control, go for it.
Well, it's great that he was willing to do that. I think speaking to Noah and to his representatives, I think that was really important that we showed strides this year in terms of where the team is going, and I guess, looking at the roster and believing in what we have and what we can put together, because, he that was important for him to be able to go to a team where he felt like he could win and he could grow with the team.
His agent told one of the media outlets that he accepted a bit less money to make this deal with Montreal. We haven't spoken to you since the Stanley Cup final. Whether you're in Florida or you're in Montreal or you're in any market, how critical is it for players not to sell themselves short, but to take a little less if you want to be in a situation where you can have the type of team you want to have, which competes and potentially wins year over year?
Well, as a general manager, I think that's very important. Some people may call me a hypocrite, but I think it's very important. And listen, I represented hockey players, a lot of them who made that decision. And I always felt as an agent that, and obviously Noah's agent feels the same way, that players drive decisions and they own their careers, and we're here to kind of help guide them through it if you're an agent. Once players get a taste, my experience representing hockey players, once they get a taste of winning, like they chase it. And some of them look back and say, I wish I figured it out sooner and chased it sooner. But I'm guessing there's players in Florida. I don't think there's a lot of players in Florida that are regretting that they took less money to stay in Florida. And that's a credit to the Florida Panthers organization for creating an environment where they can win and where they enjoy being there and working together. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Jordan Harris, by the way, is an unrestricted free agent. That's a little piece of news there. Okay. Eric, once again, we're pre-recording before 10 p.m. You wrote your piece of Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca. Let's take a look at the graphic. Folks, you have to go out and read it. Canadiens 2025 free agency preview. Edgy, big forwards, top wish list. Eric talks about Connor Brown. He talks about Sean Corrali, and he talks about Tanner Janot. And if you missed it, Eric, earlier on Jordan Kyrou, he says the Canadiens are definitely in the mix, but it doesn't seem like you're overly optimistic, Eric. We'll end with that.
No, I'm not, honestly, I'm not optimistic or pessimistic one way or the other. Like, the Blues are going to have to weigh the offers that come in and choose the best one for them. It's a big piece to be moving when you got a guy who scored over 30 goals 3 years in a row, even if he's not a perfect player. Do I think he's the number one target and the Canadiens are dying to get him? Not necessarily. Like, I think they're in on a lot of different players right now and trying to improve their top six, which they're not hiding. I mean, they have talked about working tirelessly. Gorton talked about it. Hughes talked about it, spending every waking hour over the last 3 weeks on the phone. They're being aggressive, and with good reason. Look at where the Habs are going. Look at the direction they are going in. Look at what they got accomplished over the last weekend. They are certainly not sitting on their hands and saying, well, let's stay out of this. Like, they are looking to get better for now and for the future, and they're looking for what fits best with their team. And I think they're methodical and they're calculated, and I like their chances of succeeding, whether or not it's with Kyrou or somebody else that they're after.
Eric, great stuff as usual. We'll talk to you. I hope it's going to be an amazing unrestricted free agency couple of days, and we'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right, take care.
All right, there you have it. Eric Engels of Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca. Special thanks to all of our sponsors: Accent Insurance Solutions, Betway, Playground, Tibi, and Energy Transportation Group. Special thanks to all of you for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, it's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. I'll be back tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.